I tell clients all the time, especially getting into the UV, they get excited, they send it in, and everything's UV'd. They got the logos UV, everything's UV'd. And
Yeah.
I always give them the analogy, if you're using a highlighter and you highlight everything on a page, nothing's
It's
really
no longer highlighted.
Yeah, just pick out the high points and it'll pop.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Taktiful Tuesdays. Today, really thrilled to have Jeff Howicz, Chief Commercial Officer at Team Concept Printing, with us. Jeff's journey is a testament to dedication and innovation in the printing industry. Starting his career by sweeping floors, cutting stock, he climbed the ranks through bindery and production, eventually leading one of the most innovative print operations in the industry. With over 2 decades at Team Concept, Jeff has been instrumental in transforming the company into a powerhouse known for cutting-edge digital embellishments, commitment to sustainability. From intricate foil stamping to advanced UV coatings, Jeff's expertise has helped clients create print pieces that are not only visually stunning, but also environmentally responsible. And beyond the press room, Jeff is a strong advocate for community engagement, supporting initiatives like Folds of Honor and participating in events that bridge the gap between print and innovation and social impact. So grab your favorite beverage, mug of coffee, settle in. We're going to dive into Jeff's remarkable journey, exploring how he turned humble beginnings into a legacy of excellence. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Hey, I kind of am starting to pride myself on these researched interviews and kind of pumping everybody up. I like to see the looks on people's faces while they're waiting for me to finish. It's either like they're either smiling nervously like, oh gosh, what's this guy talking about? But really glad to have you on the show. As you know, Taktiful Tuesdays, we try, what I'm trying to do with it is to learn a little bit, but also not only just learn stuff, but like learn about people. So I'm interested for you to tell us a little bit about your journey from sweeping floors to CCO role. It's really inspiring to me. And what motivated you to pursue a career in the printing industry, and how did each of your roles along the way sort of prepare you for that leadership role?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty funny story.
I love funny stories.
Tony Rouse, who owns Team, him and I were pretty good friends. I was originally wanted to be a marine biologist. So I was kind of studying that and working in a saltwater fish store in my early 20s, 19, 20, 21, in that realm.
Right.
The
Just
owner
a few
of that,
years ago.
I'm sorry?
Just a few years ago.
Yeah, right. Just a few. Yeah. The owner of that store and Tony were friends, and then we kind of started running in the same circles. Tony worked at a company called BCT, which was Business Cards Tomorrow. He was the president of BCT. There was 101 different franchises, and of the 101, in Illinois, the one he ran was the biggest in the circle. Ironically, he had a fish tank in his office. So he would come and I would take care of his fish tank at the office, maintenance it, and he would come to the shop, get new fish or whatever. And then he put a couple in his house. So I became kind of his guy for that stuff. And then, like I said, we started to hang in circles, play golf together, started to be pretty good friends, became best friends. And I did some graphic stuff too. I was studying some graphics. And he jokingly said to me one day, he's like, are you just going to bag fish the rest of your life? Why don't you just come work for me at BCT? And I was like, okay. I mean, I was like 20, like I said, 20, 21. So I started working there. And it, just like you said, right at the beginning, I was cutting stock in bindery and just doing whatever I could to learn that I didn't know anything about the print business. I was just trying to be a sponge. And then a role opened up in pre-press. So because of my graphics, he's like, hey, you want to try the pre-press route? I'm like, yeah. So I went in there, started learning that. And then after a while, he's one of the customer service reps. She was leaving. She handled all the major accounts. So he's like, hey, you want to try inside sales and customer service? I was like, yeah, why not? So I did that. So I started to do that. Plus, at night or on the weekends, I would pop in and try to learn from the press guys how the presses ran and learn from the production side of things while I was doing that too. That's awesome. So it was a couple years in. He wanted to buy BCT. They didn't want to sell. So he's like, hey, I'm gonna try to do this thing and go off on my own. Do you want to be a part of that? And I'm like, Yeah. I mean, what do I got to lose? Of course.
Let's go. Let's do, Jeff, I was just thinking, best friends, that's how it's how you always get roped in, man. That's how I got involved in what they think to begin with.
Right.
My best friend and college roommate is the one that started it and had the idea. And it was a similar story. It was just like, hey, you want to help me out? And it's like, what are you doing? And it was fledgling, just as you said, right? And then you're just off and running. And then you continue to learn. I love, you seem to have like this native, like both curiosity and willingness to just try something new. And I love that. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of, I mean, that's kind of how he was too. That's the same thing that happened with him. He was, and ironically, another friend of ours, they went to high school together, works here too, and they were working together in high school. And that person went off and started working at a Minuteman Press and told Tony, he's like, hey man, you gotta quit Pizza Hut and get over to Minuteman Press. The money's really good running a press. So he went through the phone book and started calling print places around and got to B. And BCT, there you go. He became a route driver for them. Route driver, then he ran a press, and then he moved all the way up to being the president. So, I mean, I kind of was following his playbook of, any opportunity that comes, just take advantage of it and work hard. Like they say, the cliche, good things happen, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah. Put your head down, kind of get in there. So I know that Team Concept Printing is really renowned for its digital embellishments, and obviously here at Taktiful, it's near and dear to our hearts. Can you share a little bit with me about how these enhancements have evolved over the years and their impact on client engagement? And how have you seen the whole, I mean, because embellishments have been around for thousands of years, really, in some way, shape, or form, right? The original embellishment was really paper and what we did with it. But talk about that journey, what you've seen in that space of like digital embellishments coming on and people starting to do more and more kind of blinged out print. What's been your experience with that?
Yeah, so I mean, when we first started, we carried the same model from BCT over here, which was quick turn business cards and stationery thermography. So that was kind of that if you think about it that was embellishments back in the day. It was raised print. I mean,
Yep.
it was something different, not everyone can do. So we did a ton of thermography. That was like our thing. So it's changed a ton since then. I mean, that's running conventional presses with thermography lines. And I mean, you need a lot of space. But the way team is, we just keep evolving and keep investing back into the company. So then you get into the digital space. And while that wasn't the type of embellishment like we see now, that also evolved to where you could do brighter colors or do things quicker, one-offs, not have as much setup and things of that nature. And then we went into foil stamping and embossing the traditional way with dies and standard foil, which that, kind of classed things up and made it a little flashy for people. But, there was the cost involved with the die. There was a little bit more time. And then when you put the two digital and the foil together and run like we're running now on our MGI with spot UV raised and foil, it's pretty incredible what you can do. And it's all digital and it could be sheet to sheet. You could change things. You could do a spot foil, which you couldn't do before. I mean,
Yep.
It's pretty incredible. And it's really good if you have a designer who understands print and understands embellishing. That could set it apart like no other.
Very critical, right? Because at that design stage, it's all about what am I able to do, and what I've seen is like if designers don't have some production knowledge, they're not aware of what to design, right? And so yeah, having somebody that really understands kind of the design end of it and that can think from printed output back and how to build up to that to get it to your press where you're going to have some good output.
Right.
What's your typical reaction, like a customer that hasn't really seen much digital embellishment? What's their reaction? And then talk to me about like the stickiness, like customers that have done digital embellishments, like they come back, do they want more? Like what's that like? What's your customer experience with those technologies?
Yeah, when a lot of times when I'm giving people tours and I kind of save that part for last because I've found that if I start there, everything else kind of
They get distracted?
they get distracted and everything else is kind of a downfall.
Yeah.
I try to circle back and end there.
Yeah.
And it's where they spend the most time, ask the most questions, get the more wow factors, things like that.
Yeah, kind of like I love it. I was envisioning Willy Wonka,
Yeah,
or maybe like a Steve Jobs one more thing type thing. Wait, we got one more thing, right? But if you give them the good stuff at the beginning, they're just going to be standing there like touching it the whole time.
exactly.
Can't pay attention to any other thing that yeah, that we've seen the same kind of reaction all the time that we see. And that's what you really want is you want to watch your customers and see how they interact with it and what they're gravitating towards because they might not tell you, but they'll certainly show you.
Well, and that brings up a good point when you say they'd be distracted and constantly touching it and looking at it. That's part of the selling point that I use when I'm showing them that because that is exactly what happens. And if you combine that with, soft touch lamb or something like that with the embellishment, they'll
Oh,
have it in their hands and I'll, after I'm talking for a while, I'll bring that to their attention and say, look, you haven't put that down. And they're like, yeah, I know. I love the way this feels.
so good.
That's exactly what happens when you sell that print collateral to whoever you want to get attention to. They hold on to it longer. So if you're
Exactly.
doing a mailing or something like that, it's not just a normal postcard. You get it. Yeah, here's your print collateral, and it kind of gets tossed to the side. They hold on to it. And that's the more people hold it and the longer they have it, the better off it is for the message.
Yeah, I used to laugh back in the day when we bought printing news at what they think, and so we had a printed magazine for the first time because we were digital natives, and we added a soft touch to the cover. The number one comment or feedback that I would get is how the magazine feels. Number one, far and away. It wasn't even close. And I always used to get kind of like, as a publisher, kind of bummed. I was just like, are you reading it? Like, how's the content? Like, what's like, are you just sitting there, rubbing your thumbs over it? But it's so impactful, and obviously we could dive really deep into that stuff, and people probably get tired of me talking about it. But that tactile interaction is something that we teach in our boot camps. It's something that we evangelize. That's the power because it can be simple, right? It doesn't have to be like the soft touch. I mean, you can hardly like it's sort of matte looking, but like it doesn't look like anything until you do feel it.
Right.
So Jeff, I wanted to talk a little bit about sustainability. It's been a hot topic for a while. It's one of those things that's kind of ebbs and flows in terms of how much we talk about it. But how has team concept printing integrated like eco-friendly practices without compromising creativity, quality, price, or greenwashing?
Yeah. Well, we try to be very conscious of that every chance that we can. The stocks that we use or the stocks that we suggest usually have recycled content in them. Our inks are soy based for the most part. Not all of them, but most of them are soy based. So there's that. And then we work in conjunction with paper companies that the amount of paper that we buy every year in tonnage, basically, we reinvest in planting trees to offset that usage. So that's a pretty big one right there.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. And that's obviously I think it's almost like not a special thing anymore, right? Like I remember back when we used to talk about digital printing was kind of special, variable data was special, and sustainability was special. Now it seems like table stakes, right? Like if you're not doing that, it's almost hard for you to compete for business
Yeah.
if you're not at least thinking it top of mind. I know that you guys do. So I want to pivot a little bit. Talk to me about Folds of Honor. I know you've been involved in projects supporting that. How do those types of collaborations influence your company culture and community presence? And talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, as a company, we totally love giving back. And Tony Rouse that I mentioned, the owner, he is really that's one of his key things is giving back, not only with team but just in his personal life, and that culture kind of manifests through the company. So different print opportunities come up or different charity events you're at, you start meeting people. And I believe that's how that cultivated itself, kind of met the founder of Folds of Honor through something of that nature.
And for people that might not know what that is, like explain a little bit about what Folds of Honor is. What's
Yeah, so the person that started that he was a fighter pilot, and he was just on vacation, I believe, and he was coming back from wherever on a commercial flight, and they announced to once we land, kind of just stay in your seats. We're bringing back a fallen soldier. We want to get him off the plane and with his family. So just stay in your seats. And the story he tells is that some people kind of did, and most people just went on with their life and got up, and you know how things go. People need to get connecting flights or whatever. They didn't really pay much attention.
Right.
And it kind of struck him because he was looking out the window and was able to see everything that was going on. And right then and there, he wanted to say, okay, I want to make a difference here. Folds of Honor is the proceeds go to fallen soldiers, families, especially their children, to fund so they put them through colleges and different schools like that. So that's
Awesome.
mainly where that goes.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've actually been on a flight that landed in, I think it was DC, where that situation happened, and just it's very sobering. It's very for me at the time. It was very grounding. It was just like, okay, hustle and bustle, go away. This is real shit right here, right?
Puts
It's like
things in perspective.
yeah, you look out the window and there's like this big, silver box coming out of the luggage, not the luggage bay, but whatever you call it. That's awesome. I love companies and cultures that are thinking outside of business in terms of like community and how to impact people, and I think it's just really important, and I love that. And thanks for sharing a little bit about that with us. So I wanted to ask you, we're kind of in an era that seems to be dominated by digital media today. Obviously, we're still, our industry on the print side is still consolidating, kind of trying to find where that steady state is with digital media. What strategies have you guys found that to be effective in keeping print relevant and captivating modern audiences?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, we're trying to go across all those platforms, whether it be LinkedIn, and every one of them you gotta have a different, what's the word? Not message, but I guess the messaging needs to be different because like LinkedIn, if you go to LinkedIn, you gotta be a little bit more on the corporate professional side. If you go to TikTok, it's a little fun, engagey, kind of flashy.
Yep.
Same thing with Instagram. So Facebook is a little bit different too. So we utilize all those platforms and we have the same message, but we use different messaging depending on what platform we're on to grab the attention and captivate or keep the audience engaged.
Yeah, I love that, and I love your thinking in terms of all of the different platforms and how they're different, right? And how to engage. And I know you guys probably do a fair amount of like, for your customers, are you doing any digital stuff in addition to print or multi-channel stuff, or it's just all print?
It's all print, yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously I think, we would both agree that one of the ways to stand out in that print only world is go to CMYK Plus, right? Add some of those things that maybe they can't get down the street,
right?
From another printer, kind of start to make those things pop. On a lighter note, I'm going to ask, if you weren't in the printing business, what alternative career path might you have pursued? And I think this is a question we've already kind of covered it. You would have been a marine biologist, right?
Yeah. I probably wouldn't be landlocked in Chicago, but I would be somewhere near the ocean.
Oh, that's just got to be like the guy with the marine biologist vibe is like landlocked in the middle of the Midwest. That's got to be crazy.
I guess it happened for a reason, right? That's how I got into print.
There you go. It's all happy accidents. What drew you to that, like marine biology? Like, what did you grow up coastal or?
No, right here in Chicago the whole time.
Oh wow!
But I've always just had a love for the water, a love for the ocean.
Nice.
I swam and played water polo in college, so I was always in the water.
Nice.
Yeah, and I just started to take care of my own tanks, get fish from exotic places in, and it just kept morphing from there.
All right. So besides marine biology, what's a fun fact about you that most of your colleagues might not know? Something that I always dive deep in these, Jeff. I'm sorry. Like I'm trying to get to know the people here.
Yeah.
What's a fun fact?
Probably, I would say most of them, because I haven't done it in a very long time, but most of them probably don't know that I can draw really well.
Draw artist.
Yeah, artist. Yeah, I do.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I do a lot with pencil. Yep.
Wow. Anything nearby that you could show me that you've drawn? It's fine if not. Putting you on the spot. I know.
Yeah, I don't. I know.
But it tracks. I mean, you were drawn to the design part, right? Initially,
Right.
that kind of tracks for me. So I love it. So also I know, and I wanted to talk a little bit about, you guys are going to be at Amplify Print here in like, gosh, a month. Can't
Yeah, it's
believe it.
coming up a few weeks.
I can't believe it's that close. But there's talk to me a little bit about what people can expect to see from you guys at Amplify. How are you approaching the show? What are you excited about? What are you excited to show?
Yeah, I mean, we're really going to show off our MGI with the raised UV and foil capabilities.
Heck yeah.
So, and we got a lot of, we've done a lot of cool things for different clients, and we got some samples that are, I mean, they basically sell themselves, to be honest with you. I mean, people pick them up and they don't even,
How do you do this?
comprehend how it even gets done. That's how print is nowadays.
It so is. And speaking of samples, you guys are working in partnership with us recently we've needed to refresh our Taktiful brochures, and you guys are going to be producing some of those that we will have at Amplify. I hear that there's going to be some raised UV on those guys, holographic foil, really cool looking things. I've seen the design, but I can't wait to be there in person and feel our new brochures.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for that partnership, helping us get those printed and to Amplify. Last but not least, I always love to ask this because I'm really highly focused on like young people in the industry and kind of I've mentored some young folks in the industry. For those aspiring to enter our industry right now at this point, and maybe we could talk especially in like the embellishment space, kind of the stuff, the new stuff that's being done. What advice would you offer to help them navigate and thrive in what is an evolving and consolidating industry?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And it's multifaceted, right? Because print has so many different areas where you could be. But if you're looking at just the embellishment side, is that what you're kind of focused on?
Wherever we want to go with it, it's fine.
I think if you're going to the embellishment side and want to know about that and the design side, it's really important to learn how print works. How does the ink get on the paper? Because there's a lot of times where I talk to designers or I talk to clients and they come up with these grandiose ideas and you're like, on a computer screen, it looks great, but it ain't going to work ink on paper.
Yeah.
And if you can learn that and you can learn the different nuances of that, you could really make a piece shine going the other way by knowing that stuff. It can make things pop. And that we do that all the time. I tell clients all the time, especially getting into the UV, they get excited, they send it in and everything's UV'd. They got the logos UV, everything's UV'd. And I always give them the analogy, if you're using a highlighter and you highlight everything on a page, nothing's really
no longer highlighted.
Yeah, just pick out the high points and it'll pop.
Yeah. I think we just get overexcited with the technology and the cool stuff. You just want to you just want to bedazzle the heck out of it because you can. But I think that's a good point. And it echoes back to something we talked about at the beginning of the conversation was it's really important to be successful in this industry. It feels like coming from a designer standpoint is to understand the processes too, right? You can't just be in this silo of I do the design and then I hand it off. And now this, person on, pre-press person is in their silo and then they hand it off. And now the pressman is in his silo and hands it off. You really got to kind of be more cross-functional. So I think that's really, really good advice for a young person is like, don't just put yourself in a box of this is my job. Try to learn all of the technologies and all of the processes, and it'll make you better at whichever process you're involved in. I think
it's going back to what we talked about right at the beginning, right? That's
yep.
Kind of the philosophy that I've had is just be a sponge no matter where you're at and just learn everything. I mean, it's going to make you more valuable and give you more ammo to go at your clients.
Absolutely. You can never go wrong with being curious, and I tend to gravitate towards the curious types of folks, and I think you could probably put both of us in that category of like, if I see something, I'm just like, how'd they do that?
Right.
What'd they do it with? How long did it take? Could I do that? That kind of thing. Well, Jeff, this has been really fun. I'm so happy that we got you on the show, and I really look forward to seeing you guys at Amplify. I think it's going to be great. Our fancy new hot off the presses brochures. I'm looking forward to those. We got our nice business cards that are updated. We got also some nice stickers because we're launching. Am I allowed to say that? No, maybe I'm not allowed to say that. It'll be software's coming soon, and we got stickers, and we'll have them, and we'll be handing them out.
All right.
Preview, sneak peek. Jeff, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate you being on the show, and hope everything goes well until I see you in Chicago at Amplify.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person.
Thanks, man. See ya.
All right.